my master's advisor, Dr. Gerd Furtscheller, who from the University of Graz in Austria, and this was in 1997. He sent me to the Wadsworth Center of the New York State Department of Health in Albany, New York, to work with Dr. John Wupo. And I first went there in 1997 and haven't left since. Oh, there have been quite a few. Like one, for example, was that after having seen one-dimensional BCI control using EEG, I never thought it's going to go anywhere beyond the one-dimensional control. And then, of course, John Wupo showed 2 dimensions and 2 dimensions plus a click, and then the 3 dimensions. And just to see that progressing like this, I would have never thought that that would be possible. So that's one. And another one is when we first decoded hand velocity and hand position using ECOG, I thought that that was really quite important because it really showed that it's not necessary to record from individual neurons, and it's still possible to decode a lot of detail of brain function from sensors that don't show individual neurons. The brain-computer interfacing work, there's no question that John Wupo has played the dominant role in preparing, coming up with an environment that would foster well, intellectual and professional development. So clearly that, I think that answer is pretty simple. I think what I would really like to accomplish in my career is to get a better understanding how the brain produces different types of behaviors. And with that increased understanding, we should have a much better basis for making choices to construct and develop a brain-computer interface that could be useful for a lot of people. I think one of the most important recent developments, I think, is the BCI use for functional restoration in people with stroke. I think this is one, either for functional restoration or for rehabilitation in people with stroke, and in particular with people with hemiparesis. I think this is an extremely interesting and promising area, I think. Interesting both because I think there's a good basis for the assumption that this may actually work, both the restoration, the rehabilitation, but also because the market of people with hemiparetic stroke is much, much, much larger. I definitely think a non-invasive and invasive BCI research should be pursued. I personally do not think that non-invasive BCIs are going to be used or useful in all possible situations, simply because we still to this date don't have a sensor that can provide us with robust and high fidelity recordings in all environments. There's simply no sensor no EEG sensor that allows us to do that, whether dry or wet or anything. And I am not sure that there's any indication that people are working on something that may actually produce a sensor with these characteristics. So for that reason, unless we have a sensor that is in fact robust in all possible environments, then as a logical extension follows that you're not going to be using a BCI in those situations in which the sensor does not produce a robust signal. So I think that's certainly the case in terms of invasive recordings. I still find it difficult to imagine an intracortical implant that also works in all possible environments. I simply find it hard to see or to imagine that we may be able to even mechanically stabilize a device like this so that you can just simply have this implant in there and run around and hit your head against the wall or something, or against the soccer ball or something, and it's still providing good single neuron recordings. I find that sort of hard to see. So for that reason, in both of these in examples of invasive and non-invasive techniques, I think there are going to be some limitations that are going to be hard to overcome, I think. But certainly I would still encourage development of both and further investigations of both approaches. Yeah, I think reliability is clearly one of the absolute top problems. And in both intracortical and EEG approaches, a big reason for the lack of reliability is the lack of sensor robustness. It is probably very important to keep an open mind, and in particular in the current state of BCI research, where it's not going to be so clear to what extent we're going to get better or what extent we're going to get better in certain areas. I think it's critical to have an open mind of potentially other areas and potentially put out feelers and sensors in other different type of areas, essentially as a risk management and diversification strategy, so that you're not banking on one horse, so to speak, and then if that horse doesn't pan out, then your career is in trouble. So I think the techniques that we learn or we have to master using brain-computer interfaces, I think can be applied to all kinds of things. So for example, BCI techniques from EEG-based BCIs can easily be applied to clinical diagnostic methods, for example. So for that reason, I think it's important to keep an open mind in potentially using these techniques for BCI, but also exploring the use for other areas. The definition of programmatic directions and the evaluations of programmatic directions or particular programs is certainly impeded by the fact that BCI research is so multidisciplinary. There have been a lot of instances in which a particular project or program has either been established or been evaluated by people who came from other areas, had very strong experience in one particular area, for example, engineering or neuroscience, but not very much experience in the other relevant areas. And so then either the establishment or the evaluation of particular programs are going to be somewhat suboptimal. And to what extent there's really a good solution to this problem, I'm not sure, other than the funding agencies should try to find the best people to evaluate and establish these research programs. But I do think that that's an issue. I'm excited to be here, and I very much enjoyed Utrecht and all the nice features of this country of the Netherlands. And I'm certainly looking forward to coming back, hopefully in 2 years when they have it again.